Hi class. In this video, we'll be doing an overview of the requirements for your week 1 assignment. I'm going to click on the first 8 weeks and go to week 1. In week 1, besides our syllabus, which I'll leave that to you, we're going to be looking at the Excel 4 unit in our online textbook and SAM. So I'll click on that week 1 link and begin with our week 1 module. Now again, the syllabus quiz and the discussion are introductions. You guys seem to have that well underhand. We have some people that are just taking off on that. Now the PowerPoint is a really high-level overview of what's going to be required in our unit. Excuse me. If we take a look at that here, we shall see that Unit 4 is talking about financial functions, data tables, and amortization schedules. And those are some really important financial pieces that you'll be able to get a handle on through this chapter. So let's talk a little bit about them. You're going to have several opportunities between the PowerPoint, working on the chapter activities, and doing the training to get practice with these technical skills. Along with that, we want to make sure that we have an understanding of what we're accomplishing when we put those skills to work. So we want to be able to do really functional things in Excel, like name cells and refer to those cells by name in formulas. We'd like to be able to use some high-level calculations, like determining the monthly payment of a loan. And if you've ever gotten a loan, you know that that's not just a simple calculation of, I borrowed $60 and I'm going to pay you back in 2 months, so $30 a month, right? No, because we have interest and compounding issues and all sorts of things going into the calculation, potentially, of that payment. Because there are so many different things that go into calculating a loan, we can look at things like the present value of money and the future value of money so that we can decide whether something is a worthy investment or not. We'll learn to look at data tables to analyze data in a spreadsheet. Create an amortization schedule, which is really a list of payments, and for each payment how much is going to principal and how much is going to interest for something like a home loan. So it's usually a major loan that we would be concerned about an amortization schedule for. And then we want to be able to do some technical things to control the visual aspect of our spreadsheets, like work with our outlines and borders, add pointers and visual cues to our data tables. We want to see how we can analyze our data by changing values, print out just certain sections of our spreadsheet. We also need to be able to protect and unprotect data to prevent accidental changes. Same with worksheets and workbooks. And we will be able to use the formula checker to see how things are working, make sure we have no problems with our formulas. Throughout this chapter in the textbook, you'll be working on creating this spreadsheet. So if you take a quick look at it, you'll see that it does have a lot of different features and a lot of different formatting. So it's very good practice for you. It's a pretty advanced project. In this section over here, you'll have an amortization schedule for a certain loan, depending on what the beginning balance is. In this section, you'll have a mortgage payment calculator and some interest rate schedule information. So we'll be able to look at a lot of information on one spreadsheet. Be really, really great thing to be working with. Now, as you create a spreadsheet like this, remember that something that you create that's very high level like this, if you create a spreadsheet for your company, your organization, might be used for many, many years. So things that seem like not important to you might actually be important in the long run. in the bigger picture. So always be thinking about the overall roadmap at hand. For our specific chapter here, we want to be able to do each of these different tasks. Create the mortgage payment calculator, create a data table, create the amortization schedule, format it so that it's professionally formatted and visually appealing, print certain areas of the worksheet, protect areas to keep from accidental changes, and check all of the formulas in the spreadsheet. So we're going to be doing a lot of these things, and you're going to have a lot of opportunities to practice them. So as we look at this presentation, remember you'll have an opportunity to practice on doing this or performing this task by following the steps in your textbook, from video presentations, and the training modules that are set up in SAM. Remember, they say it takes about 6 times for somebody's brain to remember how to do a task or how to remember information. So don't feel bad if you have to go back and take a peek as to how something was accomplished, because we'll be looking at so many different terms and so many different functions and features. The first thing that you'll be working with is creating named ranges. In this example, this text has been selected, and we have clicked on this Formulas tab, and then from our Formulas tab, we've said under Defined Names, create from selection. That has brought up this dialog box that lets us say, oh yeah, I've got a name over here in the left column, and that's what I want you to refer to this data element cell as. So we can speed up the naming of our data cells, because we don't have to re-enter that information, and we can stay consistent. You'll see step by step how to do that in your text, and as you practice creating this spreadsheet. As you name the cells, you'll see that you can use those names then in creating your formulas, making things more dynamic and more meaningful to those that come along in the future. Then you'll be working with this payment function. It is a function, so you'll be using the function calculator tool, and you'll be able to put in the information that you want as part of this formula using these named ranges, so that again it's self-documenting and much easier to work with all of this spreadsheet data than just using cell names. You know, C14 is not really as friendly as loan amount. We know what's going on there. So our named ranges can really help a lot. Now, this slide is just a review, and it's telling you that based on these functions that we're going to be working with in our chapter, these are the common names that you would see for the data that is supplied to those functions. So if we wanted to calculate the present value of an item, we would usually have the rate, the number of being the interest rate, the number of periods being like 5 months if the payment number is 5, and then the payment amount, so that we can calculate the present value of that money. Again, we want to use those common terms like that in our spreadsheets so that they're more meaningful to others. Now, in the text, I'll also show you how to use the fill handle. This is a really awesome feature in Excel where you can select a couple of cells and then go to the corner and click and drag and generate a series. So make sure you follow the steps to do that and watch videos. That's one of those ones that is nice to see. It's much easier to see than to hear about. We also want to be able to define a specific range in our spreadsheet as a data table. So we'll be looking at the run if analysis or ribbon tool and looking at data tables. And then finally we'll be looking at creating our amortization schedule, what formulas to use, and how to format that amortization schedule. We want to put some nice borders around it so it really stands out in our spreadsheet. And then finally, we'll set up some different print areas, named areas, so that then we can print those specific areas in our spreadsheet. As our last steps, we'll be protecting some of our cells so that they are, again, protected from accidental change. And then we'll see how to protect an entire sheet and how to hide and unhide worksheets and workbooks. Remember, when you're hiding things from yourself, they can be kind of hard to find, so make sure you remember how to unhide. Now, as you use the formula checker, be aware that it's following specific rules. So as you receive messages back, please refer to these rules so that you are understanding what it's trying to tell you. And you can also enable that feature in the background so that it is just running as you are making changes, so that you don't have to specifically run it on your own. Now, if we go back to our Week 1 module, our reading assignment is Excel 4. So I'm going to back up a little bit and click on our Excel textbook. And as I mentioned, I think in the welcome video, this is something that I just probably want to open every time I start a new section so that I can have the guided learning activities in front of me. Now, I need to go back to the beginning here. And looking at section 4, this matches up with our presentation for what kind of activities we're going to be doing. So, you as a student need to go through each of these different steps and follow the instructions, and as you are performing the task, be thinking about what this step is called, what it's named, so that you can refer to this information later in your brain. It's kind of like a filing function. We want to make sure we know what it's called, not just the steps to accomplish the task. So for example, as I get started, looking at our different introductory information, again, they show us our beginning spreadsheet, or our spreadsheet goal, I guess I should say, a little bit about how this spreadsheet came to be, kind of a nice wireframe drawing of an early design for this spreadsheet, and then we get into a list of the things that we're going to be doing, our tasks in the chapter. So here's our first few steps. Start up Excel and create a blank workbook, then apply a theme to the workbook. They give you some hints as you go to help you with each of these steps. Now, as you go through the steps, you're going to encounter some videos, and these videos will be very short. They're just quick demonstrations of how to do specific tasks, because again, sometimes a visual is so much easier for us than a textual description. So for example, here in creating cell names, there are 1, 2, 3, 4 short videos for you to show you how to accomplish those tasks and what steps to take. So these will be nice and quick to get through, and just a great opportunity for you to get a visual. So work your way through this chapter. You're going to create, as we said, this spreadsheet by following all the steps, and you should have this beautiful portfolio-worthy project completed when you're done following all the steps in the chapter. Now that is quite a bit, I know. And depending on your experience with Excel, you might need to refer back to earlier chapters too for a little refresher. But hopefully you can just move right through that and learn how to use these functions and what kind of wonderful things they're doing for us. Now the training, and you can do this training with the textbook or after you've done the textbook activities. I would recommend doing the training after the textbook activities. So I would load my SAM training. And for week 1, we are doing these specific tasks like hiding a worksheet doing some things that we should see as familiar from the objectives of our chapter. As I mentioned earlier, our brains need several exposures to things to remember how to do them. So you can certainly launch all these tasks, or you can pick and choose and see which tasks you would like to launch. For example, if I decide I want to see how to insert a new worksheet, I've reached that step in the textbook and I'm not finding a video and I'm not super confident with it, I can launch the training for that task. As you look at the training, you're going to see there's lots of different aspects of it. First of all, the introduction gives us kind of an overview and tells us what we're going to be doing. It gives us some options for how we can do these things using the mouse, using the ribbon area up here for Office, or using the shortcut menu. So we have lots of different options, of course, always. Now, after we've completed the intro looking at things, we can click on Observe, and that'll bring up, again, a short video.
At the bottom of the Excel window, to the right of the Franchise Owner's Sheet tab, click the New Sheet button.
And it has that area highlighted for us.
Excel inserts a new worksheet, Sheet 1, to the right of the Franchise Owner's worksheet. Sheet 1 is now the active worksheet.
Gives us some great information. Now, I've done the intro and the Observe, so I'll click on Practice. That would show me that same video again, and then I can choose to apply. And in the apply, the training says, insert a new worksheet to the right of the franchise owner's worksheet. I will click the new sheet button like they showed me to do, and then I've completed that section of training. Okay. Now, as I go through and complete these different activities, again, we're going to be receiving points for doing that. So refer to the training however it works best for you. Once you've gone through the chapter objectives and you've completed the training, you're ready to work on the project for our section. And for this project, again, it's going to be your first one, is SAM Project 1B. When you click on it, you'll see instructions for how to download the instructions and how to download the project file. You must follow the instructions carefully in your project naming, and then follow the instructions on how to upload your updated project to SAM. Remember, if you have problems and you're not happy with the score that you receive, scroll up in our course in Canvas and use the SAM main course link to open SAM in a new window. And again, mine is going to look a little different than yours, but you're going to be looking for, let me go to Student View, you'll be looking for the reports, and your assignment will show up here, and you'll ask for a certain report. Notice that in some instances you can also request a study guide, which would be a list of step-by-step instructions on how to complete the project. So assistance is here for you. None of the SAM activities are designed to be frustrating to you. They're all just designed to help you learn how to accomplish these really more advanced tasks in Excel. So in review, when we look at the beginning of this Excel section 4, we see that we're going to be working with some advanced formulas. So we're going to go through the online textbook and do those activities on our own, go through the training material to reinforce some of the concepts from the textbook material, and then complete the project. This project we will have 4 opportunities for because it's our first one, and we'll review the reports in SAM if we run into any problems or any sort of issues. Remember, I'm always here. Just send me an email if you have some sort of issue and we'll try to get you fixed up. And let me know if you have any issues. Thank you.